Hey everyone, so Denis Villeneuve gave an interview to an Italian magazine called Il Venerdì, and he says some really interesting stuff about Dune Part 2. In this video we will be exploring exactly what was said and what it could mean for the future of the Dune franchise. If you like these videos, please don't forget to give me a like rating. It helps YouTube's algorithms find my videos and shares them with more people, and it's one easy way to help the Dune community grow. If you like these videos, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and click the bell so that you can be first to be notified of new videos. Now that is out of the way, let's get straight into this episode.
You need to face your fears.
The folks at DuneNewsNet.com were kind enough to provide the Italian interview translated into English. Denis Villeneuve spoke about how Zendaya auditioned for the role of Chani. Originally, he auditioned several actresses for the role, but after seeing Zendaya's audition, he immediately knew that she was the one for the role. He describes her as the young desert tiger. He says, "When I was casting the character of Chani, I met a lot of actresses. Zendaya wanted to audition, and now after shooting the film and seeing what a great actress she is, I regret having her audition, just because I didn't know her. However, that day she impressed me, and when she walked out of the studio, I knew that Chani was her, the young desert tiger. I'm honored to present two such explosive talents on screen, and I can't wait to shoot the second part of Dune, to have them back together, knowing that in the next chapter, Zendaya will be the protagonist of the story." Now, there have been some concerns about the translations of this article because it was translated twice over. Some people thought this was mistranslated and the original meaning was that Zendaya would have a bigger role in part 2. But according to Italians themselves, who I've spoken to and interacted with, they seem to say that the translation is, as it is, clear-cut, that Zendaya will be the protagonist of Dune Part 2. There's no mistranslation, so I'd like to explore the implications of what this means, but we'll get to that later. Denis Villeneuve goes on to say, "When I decided to direct Dune, I called the screenwriter Eric Roth because I am convinced that he has the necessary culture to deal with the spirituality of a story like this, by exploring its religious aspects, but above all because I have always appreciated his way of delineating the female characters. I've read a lot of Roth's scripts, and when we met, his first question was, okay, let's make this film together, but what is the main thing you want from me? What should I focus on? What's the priority in adapting the book? My answer was the female characters. I think femininity is at the heart of the film." And of course this is true. The Bene Gesserit are the main players behind the scenes. They are almost the architects of all of these narratives. They are the ones who are trying to breed a Kwisatz Haderach. They know the secrets of historical language and knowledge from their genetic memories from the female side. They know the secrets of past histories, and they use these things to benefit the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. But they've also spread this knowledge throughout the Imperium to benefit their order as well. And then Jessica comes along and changes the story completely by having a son instead of a daughter, which in turn ruins the plans of the Bene Gesserit sisterhood and creates an anomaly. And why did she break from this plan? Because of love. So this is all to do with femininity, this is all to do with the female Bene Gesserit sisterhood. So there is nothing really new here. Villeneuve seems to know exactly what he's talking about in this case. This seems to be exactly in keeping with Frank Herbert's message, because in the later books we have the fish speakers, an entirely female army, and then we have the honored matres. I used to call them maters, I don't know if that's correct. It kind of seemed in keeping with the whole breeding maters, but I think it's honored matres. Anyway, Villeneuve continues by saying, in the book, the Bene Gesserit are essential. They rule a power all their own, and they do so by following their own trajectories, practicing manipulation, and using the most sophisticated of weapons, time. The strategies with which they use time have always fascinated me. While the males just run to go into battle, women are stronger, and this also made me think about the relationship between our culture and time. Which of us will be able to last longer? Americans see everything in an economic way, and for them it is important to have wars that last 3 months, convinced that they can compress time. Other cultures, on the other hand, are more focused on using their time. I think these will prevail in the end. I'm really interested to see how he interprets his political opinions in Dune and the consequences of that. Here he seems to be criticizing American foreign policy, and perhaps this view incorporates the whole going into the war in Iraq and things of that nature, and of course the parallels of Iraqus or Iraq will be an interesting thing to explore. And partly I think this is what Villeneuve is trying to do. He's trying to give a voice to the oppressed, which is why Chani opens the Dune movie. And of course, one does not simply cast Zendaya for a 5-minute role without there being some grand plan to use her to a greater extent in the future. And this is that grand plan. She's going to be the protagonist of Dune Part 2. Now that doesn't mean that she's going to overshadow Paul Atreides, aka Timothée Chalamet, and his role and his work. Of course, he's going to shine in his own right, but we're going to follow the story through the eyes of Chani, and that could make for an interesting perspective, and here is why. This is going to contain spoilers for the Dune story, for the Dune film itself, and potentially for the future Dune Part 2. So if you do not wish to be spoiled, please watch another video of mine. Dune Part 1 ends just after the Jamis fight. There is no Jessica taking the water of life scene. It's just implied, as we saw in the Dune trailer. So we'll get that in Dune Part 2, and that entails Chani becoming a Sayadina as well, just in case Jessica doesn't survive the changing of the water of life. So that's something that develops her character, and there'll be some special scenes with that. Then we'll get the time jump, the 3-year time jump. By that point, Paul will have a child with Chani, and he will be an established leader of the Fremen. Pretty much, especially in the role of a messianic figure, the Mahdi. So a lot will happen in those 3 years. Obviously, Chani and Paul develop their love, and Chani is watching her love become something more than a man. He's becoming a messianic figure. And so that's an interesting perspective in the sense that she's watching her love change. She's watching him grow into another figure, a leader, almost a cult leader. Someone that all men and women respect and revere. He certainly becomes the most important figure to the Fremen, perhaps even more so than Jessica herself, who is a Sayadina at this point. And that's the most revered figure among the Fremen, naturally. But above a Sayadina is the Mahdi in terms of the Fremen hierarchy. So she is a lover watching her love changing into something other than the one she fell in love with. And you could argue that part of the reason why she fell in love with him is because he seemed to be the Mahdi of their Fremen legend. But I think that's for a separate discussion. So if they focus on her as a lover slowly losing her love to a legend and the changes that come with it, that could make for an interesting perspective as a film. And of course we know that Denis Villeneuve values and adores the female characters in his films, and he enjoys their perspective. So it seems like a natural fit for Denis Villeneuve. And of course Chani is going to be representing the Fremen perspective as well. So it'll be the Fremen perspective, how the Fremen change, reacting to Paul Mu'addib, the Mahdi of the Fremen, and it'll also be how Paul Mu'addib is changing in the eyes of Chani, and their love grows, and she becomes more important in Dune Messiah, of course. And Dune Messiah is essentially where their love arc is completed, story-wise. Within the Dune novel are 3 separate books: Dune, Mu'addib, and The Prophet. Denis Villeneuve's Dune film only covers the first half of the book, so it's split right down the middle. It covers book 1, Dune, and then it also covers half of book 2, Mu'addib. And the love arc between Chani and Paul is explored quite well in the Dune miniseries and the Children of Dune miniseries. I think it's one of its strongest points. And you see these sentiments begin to kick in when Chani and Paul talk about eternity.
I suddenly feel like we have so little time.
We have eternity.
You have eternity. I have only now.
And then you start to get a sense of her mortality and Paul Mu'addib's immortality, essentially. They become like 2 different beings. One is more human and the other is more messianic. So I think this could be a really interesting perspective for Dune Part 2 as a film. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why I liked the idea of Dune as a series, because in a series you can get to see the different perspectives from different characters about the same events and other characters in the story. And some of those perspectives are more interesting than the average perspective. Oftentimes you end up wishing that the storyline would have gone in a different direction from that character's perspective. So it isn't the perspective that I expected, but it is an interesting one. But what do you think about all this? Do you think Chani should be the protagonist of Dune Part 2? Do you think femininity is at the heart of the Dune story? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. If you like these videos, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and click that bell so that you can be first to be notified of new videos. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider supporting me on Patreon or becoming a channel member where you'll receive access to exclusive content, secret content and more. As always, thank you so much to my Patreons, channel members and subscribers for your support. And until next time, see you soon.